Okay, so just this,
So say the date and the time.
this is the November 28th Energy Committee meeting. And so present Martha Geroni, chair. Go around.
Joel and Courtney here.
Tracy Young.
And excused are Kim Quirk, Paul Morrison, and not present is Wendell Smith. All right, so let's move to the October minutes.
One correction, and that was, Wendell was virtual.
Okay. I also noticed a repetition in the first motion to approve the minutes.
Oh,
It's a minor thing. It says the change the below with one change, something like that.
no, okay.
So I can easily correct that.
Okay. So I move that we accept with those changes that were noted.
Second.
Awesome.
Good.
Great. All right, so you guys okay if we go boom, 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 kind of a bunch of updates?
Sure.
And then we take a little time to ponder about the visioning document.
Mhm.
Okay. So DPW energy saving work, I received an update from Charlie, saying that the work of installation has been done or initiated here.
Oh.
And that people who work here started already feeling a difference.
Oh, that's exciting.
So are they finished? That, did Charlie say?
I'm gonna read that to you because let's see. As of this morning, that was November 16, most of the installation has been installed
Great.
by Shea Installation and DPW, and the change in temperature is very noticeable, both in the offices and in the storage area above the offices.
Terrific.
It will be interesting to see if improving installation will reduce the time interval that the heater runs,
Right.
which we actually can hear and see.
And I have an update on NH Saves for this.
Okay, yeah, I was curious
have
about that.
Is there something else you wanted to say?
No, the only other thing that Charlie mentioned was the LED lights that were purchased, had been installed. And this change should reduce the electrical usage in the area of 66%. So they did the exchanges of the lighting that were in the plan, so that's great.
Okay, in terms of the insulation, we got a notice from Michelle Harrison, who is the one who was dealing with the NH Saves, and we were awarded $3,321.73 for the insulation work, which is approximately 40% of the project cost.
Oh.
So
Well, did you apply for that? That's great.
we did, yeah.
Marvelous.
Wonderful.
I know, it's kind of amusing.
It is. That's great.
The reason it's amusing is like, we already designated the funds, but the point is, we were able to get somebody else to pay for it.
I think it's great.
So, the information went to Jim and me, that letter, but I realized it was last week and, other things on my mind, but, so I sent Jim an email today saying, have you submitted the letter back to her? He has to sign a letter, saying that's agreeable, and they will come, and inspect it.
And then they'll issue a check.
Right.
Great.
That's
Terrific.
kind of cool. So way to go for, following up with this called, gee, this is hanging around. Why don't we finish this sucker off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And if they're already feeling the difference, that's very
That's even
tangible.
nicer. If people are actually noticing.
Yeah.
A little bit of change.
Yeah. Well, kudos to all involved.
That's great.
This is really a good example of something that works really well, and we even get funded, like, there was so much money allocated to this, and of course, I mean, initially there was a bigger project. But
Right.
I'm so pleased with how
Yeah.
things went. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a great example. Okay, so there's nothing else that needs to be done there. So like they are in touch, they'll send an inspector, an HSA will send an inspector. So that's off our hands, basically.
Correct, but I do want to be kept informed,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, it doesn't solve a structural, not a structural issue. It doesn't solve a ice dam issue,
no,
which may still exist right here. But the insulation could have an effect because it's going to cut back on the heat loss.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see. Perhaps the ice dam issue will not be as severe, perchance,
Yeah.
which would be nice.
How will we be able to tell if there's,
Just a question of asking Jim Taylor to keep an eye on the back roof here over the course of the winter
mhm,
and see if, in his opinion, in late January, February, once we've had some storms, whether the snow that has fallen on the roof has turned to ice, or perhaps with any luck has simply slid off.
there's so many variables with that, that.
It's very difficult.
Right,
You know,
'cause I
but-
mean,
The original money allocated, one part of it, a large part of it, was intended to add an extension on this roof, an overhang, primarily because of the ice damming.
mhm,
right? Yeah, okay, well, that's a good indicator, something to
Yeah,
track.
so I would say a request to Jim Taylor to, by late January or February, when we've gotten some snow,
yeah,
to just let us know, did it have an effect? That would be.
Yeah.
Something.
It's awesome, yeah. Okay, I also asked Charlie whether there was, anything else that, can be addressed. I feel that all the low hanging fruits have been addressed
mhm.
and we're good for now, but, I have also asked to keep us, posted if there's anything else that can be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Enfield Community Power, is there any update there?
Yeah, there's, as
Yeah.
usual, there's a lot. I'll give you the simple one first, and that was that Canaan had their second meeting last night. And they're going the slow route, which is advisable. Meaning that they'll probably not launch till the spring of 2025.
2025.
Right, because it has to go to town meeting and there's no way.
And
you
that
can
would be
get-
the spring of 2024. And so then it would probably take a year to implement, is that?
No, they can't go, there's no way they could get to town meeting in March
Really?
of next year.
Of 24?
Their select board hasn't even approved the committee,
Oh,
so,
did Enfield form, other than the energy, that's right, they don't have an energy committee
correct.
to promote the idea. You know,
We were in a different situation because the legislation changed October 2019. Kim went to the select board that month and got authorization to create a committee to work on it.
it seemed to move fairly quickly. I remember your presentation to the public, if you will. And it was only about a year and a half after that that it seemed to, for Enfield.
Right. It's just, there's a lot of, yeah,
But for Canaan, I can see that, since they don't even have a committee,
right,
you've got to get a foundation in order to be able to start somewhere.
exactly.
I agree, yes.
And the committee doesn't need to be necessarily an energy committee, it could be a community power committee. So to
Correct.
speak, right, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's just that
Yeah.
they need, I mean, their first meeting was the end of October. And
Right.
then you get into, okay, so now it's the end of November. When are you gonna go to the select board in January? Well, but you gotta get your ducks in a row before you go there, because they have to sign a joint powers of agreement, but if they don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Right. So almost a year's worth of just education and learning, and hopefully present it to the public in the spring, or at least to the select board.
Yeah.
Sometime late 24.
Well, it'll be brought to the select board. There are two steps that need to be approved by the
Did we as a
select board.
town, Enfield, refresh my memory, did we take a vote as a town?
Yeah,
Did we?
Yeah,
Had
and
it- so-
it was, I'm pardon me for this,
Oh, no,
but it was the same day as the vote was for
the
major
buildings,
buildings. So
Okay.
when it came to this,
21, okay,
there was one person who asked a question.
Yeah.
That was it.
it was so unanimous.
It was like,
yeah, I do remember that. I
and
remember
I've
that now.
said to people, we
Yeah.
were lucky, there were a lot of people in attendance, but nobody was paying attention because they were focused on other things.
Yes,
And it
So-
also made sense, you know, it's one of those things that like, oh, it makes sense.
Okay, so there's a lot more to say.
Okay, go
Um,
for it.
All right, so that's Canaan. I went to Bristol a week ago with Andrew Hatch. They had their first kind of public informational meeting. They've signed the JPA, so there are a lot of milestones, but select board has to approve officially at two different times. But as of November 10th, there were 16 municipalities receiving 80 kilo. I hate it when I can't read my own writing. 80,000 electric customers. Okay, over 80,000 electric customers in 16 municipalities as of November 10th. On Thursday of this week, there's a board meeting. And they will approve additional members, bringing the total number of members up to 50.
50?
50, which is kind of boggling.
it's gonna jump from 16 to 50, just
No.
like that?
No. Like I said, they're all in different stages. Right now, 16 municipalities are getting electricity,
Yes,
but when you sign the joint powers agreement, then you become part of the coalition and the board approves you. That's what's gonna happen on Thursday.
I see.
So then they'll be officially members.
Oh, I see.
And there are 4 additional communities that have already, their select board or governing party, voted, and we're awaiting the joint powers agreement.
So the 16 municipalities that are on board now.
Yeah.
Represent 80,000 customers.
Correct.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That,
It's gonna keep growing.
yeah, I mean, I had read that in very short order, Community Power will be the second largest purchaser of.
Yeah.
Independent power, or how would you phrase it, I guess?
Right? So, let's see, there will be, in March, 10 new communities will be launching. So they will be starting to get power. And there's an anticipated 20 additional 20 for next summer. So I think that's partly why Canaan, take your time, honey. You know, everybody's like overloaded with all these, getting all this
Sure.
other stuff squared away, so. Back to, okay, rates will be changing. For the time span of February through July of next year, and January 2nd is when they will be announced. Background information is that our authorized officer in Enfield is Ed Morris. And he will be he was authorized by the select board to make a decision as to whether to continue the way we're going or to not.
What do you mean by
Yeah.
not?
If things were, he could say, we're not buying power this year, he,
I'm not aware of a vote of the select board.
the select board authorized him to be the authorized agent,
That part, yes.
but there's no reason for him to not.
Oh, no, I'm not, but certainly it
Yeah.
wouldn't matter, but I don't know that he's the authorized agent to say no
Well, if he's authorized
without
to
coming
say,
back to the select board, I mean.
well, if he's authorized to say yes, why wouldn't he be authorized to say
I
no?
don't know. It wouldn't matter. It's only a bureaucratic point. It doesn't mean anything, really. I understand.
Okay,
Just for my own clarity, so, there's almost like a recommitment,
yeah,
process
it's-
each year, maybe a formality, but
Yeah.
nevertheless.
right, and the
Yeah.
thing is, if there's no uh,
Incentive?
no, the new people who are gonna be launching sometime in March, they need to make a commitment to,
Yes.
yes, we're going, or no, we're not.
Right.
Yes.
People who are already going on, it's assumed that there's an expectation you'll just continue. So,
It's almost like a checkpoint, you have an opportunity.
right, because
Each
now
year,
there are
I
new
suppose.
rates, and it's like, is this gonna work for you?
How often are the rates allowed to change?
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Okay.
That may change in the future, but it's, right now, it's the same as the, utilities.
Utilities, yeah.
So we'll see how those go. And customer refresh mailers were sent out the second week in November. And that is to identify new customers who might have moved into the community or who, switched from a third-party provider. And so they will be getting the information so that they understand that, gee, right now, you probably are getting the default service from Liberty or Eversource if you're in Easton. But you have the choice to go with community power, and you would have to make a choice.
Does Community Power get a list of people who have signed on to third power suppliers? In other words, one of those multi-year contract things?
I don't think they have the exact name and address.
Yeah. So
Um,
no way to when those people go off a contract, they wouldn't necessarily know.
when they go off a contract and they get into the default, that's why they're gonna be sending these refresher things out quarterly.
Okay,
So it'll catch all those
so
people.
hopefully it'll catch all those folks.
Right,
Good.
and they sent out over 5,000 mailers.
Good.
And that's again to those 16 communities.
Right.
Um,
I know there are people in Enfield who are still on one of those private multi-year
right,
agreements. But hopefully, when those agreements come up, they have learned there's alternatives out there
right.
and don't just re-up.
One never knows.
No.
So the new rates will be, discussed during the month of December, and the board will set the rates the end of December, and then they'll be published, January 2nd. So I think that's probably all with community power.
And we don't know of any progress with, Liberty and the issue of folks who have solar.
Yes, there's been progress. Net metering, we're making great progress in removing the hurdle to serve net metered customers.
Great.
I can't,
Well, we don't know what that means. Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
no.
I mean,
I'm sure.
there was more information, but it's very complicated and it doesn't, I don't get all of it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's not, there's movement
Well, that's
and
good.
it's good movement.
Right,
It's not resolved yet.
well, that's okay.
It's
Somebody's
getting-
working on it,
Oh, yeah,
and that's great. Because I know I've heard from people who have,
I know.
you know, if you put up one solar panel, it can force you to not be able to use community power.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing, they're gonna do kind of a webinar, I think, in January. That's what I mean about it's complicated. You can have solar and you. Let me think about this a minute.
Well, I guess you can have it if it doesn't go through your panel.
Hmm.
It feeds something directly, maybe?
That wasn't where I was going. It was more that, if you use everything you generate, you're fine. You can,
Okay, it's only.
but if you have
one-
excess,
If you have excess generation, okay,
Right. so having one panel, if you're a regular household, it's probably not enough.
right,
Yeah, you could still get with community power.
yeah.
Kim was gonna sign up for it anyway, so I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that's
That's,
about,
but that's good news, all of it.
Well, thank you also, for joining, Andrew Hatch and being
Yeah.
an ambassador for other.
it's actually quite good because he's very much the technical person.
Mhm.
And I'm more of the process and rah.
So is he working? I know he's left Resilient Energy
He
Company.
hasn't left completely.
Oh, he hasn't left completely.
No, he's three days a week with community power.
I see. And then a couple of days still back with
Yeah.
those Resilient Energy Consultants, okay.
Right.
I was at a MFAC meeting just before this, a couple hours ago, and his name came up.
Mhm.
And they said, no, that he wouldn't be the one reviewing Whitney Hall to make sure that it's up to snuff, if you will, by design. They mentioned another person who is replacing him in that effort.
Wasn't Michelle Harris?
It was.
Okay.
Michelle
Rather,
Harris.
wasn't
Thank you.
it?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna write that down. I forgot to write it down a couple hours ago. Michelle Harris was her name.
Harrison.
Harrison. Okay, so she is going to be the one who will be looking over the plans at Whitney Hall to affirm any thoughts of, is this as efficient as we can make it by design?
Because it was she who sent the letter and she was the contact for the funding that we got for the.
Oh, for New Hampshire, say, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
And so she's working, she doesn't work for Resilient, she works for the.
She works for Resilient.
She works
but
for
she's the-
Resilient, under contract with New Hampshire Saves.
Right.
Got it. I understand the connection now. Thank you.
And so that means that the town is applying for funding to.
If,
NHSAs?
I think if her advice is that there are rebates available based on looking at the design, then that, yes. To my knowledge, there are no outstanding applications at this point. But she'll be looking at the design and saying, okay, here's something energy efficient that you can,
Which is
consider,
good.
because
that's-
it's going to have heat pumps. And that's a possibility of rebates for the heat pumps.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna have solar, mostly because there's just no way to do it on that existing structure
Right.
per se. And then the addition's gonna be a flat roof, but that's gonna be full of rooftop heat pumps.
Huh.
Ah,
That's where they'll be. They won't be
I
inside.
see.
They'll be, so the addition will have a flat roof, and that's where the heat pumps will be
I see.
for the building. And the building essentially is, so it won't have no fossil fuel whatsoever. Electric heat pumps are out.
That's great. That's really good. any additional updates, whether on the municipal buildings or, community power? Are we wrapping up for community power?
Yes, I'm wrapped up.
Okay, well, maybe yeah, okay. Moving on to Tracy, anything else about, we discussed it at the previous meeting, so we have good notes from. But is there any new updates on the municipal buildings, even though you mentioned that?
I think that's,
Yeah.
as far as energy is concerned, that's pretty much it. The the library is already shut down, as you probably know, and they're still boxing. The librarian was at this previous meeting and she said, yeah, we're looking at 600 boxes now, but we'll be over 800 before we move.
And
Then a moving company comes in and moves them across the lake, and they're going into what was the gift shop building of La Salette. I don't think it has another name other than it's the gift shop building.
Right.
And then the municipal offices are packing now, but they're not shut down yet. But they will be shut down by next week. And they will then physically get moved over into what has been called the cafeteria building, for lack of a better term. I don't know what La Salette ever actually called it.
I don't know, but it's wooden and the other one is stone.
Is granted, that's right, yes. And so municipal offices will be in the cafeteria building, library will be in the gift shop building. And everyone will be there then for a year.
Or more. Excuse me.
You know, you get optimism out of the contractor who says, yeah, it'll be a year, but the reality is, my experience,
At least 50% more.
yeah. Yeah, get comfortable, you know, bring a good chair. So hopefully things will work out. It's interesting, as they've gotten into it, I've heard reports of the unfortunate condition of those buildings.
Mhm.
They're, I keep hearing reports of, buckets under the roofing, for example. And just poor condition that they were never really well taken care of, unfortunately, by,
Mm. Yeah, I was concerned
Possible.
about that the transition might be worse than what they were living in the town.
yeah, it's not like they were able to move into some nice quarters, so to speak. It's,
It's,
I haven't seen it per se, but it's gonna be a difficult transition for everyone to settle in for a period of time, but,
Is the town engaging any help from the community or?
not really. They chose to, the staff are working hard to prepare the move, and they've hired Enfield Moving to move them. And they decided to go that way rather than try to, the library, for one, was very concerned about the handling of their books. They really felt they wanted the books to come down, be cataloged, boxes properly marked, then properly taken over there.
Yeah.
So they knew exactly where everything was.
Right.
Yeah. that makes sense.
Municipal records are kind of the same thing. You've got to be very cautious about
Yeah.
letting the public start to
Access,
handle
yeah.
municipal records. So it's a professional move.
Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes a
It
lot
does
of
make sense,
Yes.
but it has, I've also heard comes, it's been an opportunity to do house cleaning. I mean,
I'm sure.
for the municipal offices and for the library. These are places, they've been there for over 100 years.
Wow.
So it's been an opportunity to, I'll keep that, but that's on it.
I bet.
Great. Well, thank you.
But it's nice.
Yeah.
And so as of now, the library's closed. They'll reopen after the first of the year. And then the municipal offices will be kind of out of business just for a few days next week. And then they'll be back open.
Well, it said it's the 4th through the 8th, which is the whole week.
Right, I mean, it's the week. It's the 5
Okay.
days.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not weekends on each end of it, but it may be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It's exciting, even if.
It is, it gets things started. And then there'll be a groundbreaking, so to speak, but you know, it's gonna be, the initial work is also renovation, some demolition inside, and that'll occur sometime around the 14th. And that's gonna show up on the listserv and other places.
Good.
There'll be an announcement of that, and there'll be a groundbreaking of sorts. And one of the initial phases actually is literally a groundbreaking. They're going to dig right away for the addition. They don't wanna wait that part till spring. They wanna jump right into it because they've got contractors who are uniquely available now.
Uh-huh.
And so that's part of it.
For the ground.
It's the grounds didn't frozen.
Well, either you wait until spring, or you jump into it right now when it's not yet frozen, especially if you've got a concrete contractor who would like to use up the tail end of the year to keep his crews busy, perhaps.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. It's just thinking about getting into the ground, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the addition, because of soil testing, it's not great. It looks like what happened was in 1910, when they built it, they pretty much filled in behind the building
Oh,
with recovered materials. So the decision has been that the addition will be on piles, which are drilled columns of concrete. So rather than a traditional dig a hole, form some walls, what it's gonna happen, it'll be on concrete piles.
With heavy insulation below, I guess.
Right, exactly. So that they don't have to worry about the recovered materials which are underneath, which did not look very suitable for
when you
new
said
construction.
that, all I could think of was sinks and toilets and stuff.
No, but I think it's recovered fills from when they built Whitney Hall. I think basically they excavated for Whitney Hall and just threw it in the backyard,
That's what,
you
that's
know?
what was done.
So they infilled what is now parking lot. It probably sloped more than that at one time, and it just became a fill area because the soils engineering identified wood and other unsuitable soils back there.
I see. Mhm. Okay, well, good.
Anyway, there's the gist.
Good to know. Good, a little bit of dirt. I'm just kidding.
That's right, a little bit of dirt.
So, a quick update on communications. So I have lost my partner in crime in Paul. So Paul Morrison, is still part of our team, but he has to take care of a dear friend of his. Like he's having serious health issues. And so he communicated with me that he cannot commit to doing committee work essentially. So yes, I will be taking on a bit more work on the communication side. The plan was that Paul will become independent in tracking some of the sources and communicating. We haven't gotten to that stage. We are at a stage where we have a sense of what sources to track. And I guess for now I can fill that role. So I'd be happy to, connect with you about suggestions or, priorities. Hey, there's this happening. I'll be tracking some of the websites, but if you have an idea or would like something to go out, let me know. And I know that the newsletter, I don't know actually when that deadline is, but it needs to go out
It's this week. I mean, it's
this week, right?
I would not be surprised if Alyssa's probably already composed it.
she was out of town till Wednesday, which
Oh,
is tomorrow.
Okay, so she'll probably make it a priority then as soon as she returns. You know, I'm sure she'd want to get that done before the move of next
Okay.
week.
When did you think it was gonna happen? If the first is Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, the good news is that if there's a little blurb, I'm happy to send it tonight, if we want to have anything go into this coming one.
Well, okay,
I mean,
I had suggested something,
energy savings.
right? Because this is when people are starting to feel the difference in the temperature.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to concoct something. And so she'll have it by tomorrow when she approaches the movie. Do you think it's too late?
I don't know. I just know that she said she was out of town because I contacted her last week. She contacted me back saying, you know, she would be back in the office on Wednesday, but if I needed an answer. And I was like, I got an answer from somebody
Okay.
else.
I will try and see what happens, and then she'll tell me when she preferably wants things by.
Well, it's usually at least a week or 5 days before the beginning of the month. I mean, the newsletter comes out the first of the month, so
Okay, we'll see. Yeah, between the holidays and everything, I fell behind.
and if we don't make anything, we don't, but
Yeah.
I think it's a missed opportunity, that's
Yeah.
all.
Absolutely.
And to me, I mean, it's fine to be figuring out what other people are doing, but our responsibility really is to this community. So giving them information that they can use.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many people even read the newsletter.
Well, the thing is that we can always back up the newsletter with a listserv post. The
Right.
same exact thing can go out both ways. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be my action item, and
Okay.
I will send something to the listserv as well. Okay, Joellen, you were planning to go to the Local Energy Solutions Conference?
I did, and I thought I brought the brochures with me and I left them at home. I apparently forgot you had asked about the video access and I completely forgot about getting that.
It's okay.
So I need to follow up with that. And I don't know that Wendell showed up. Not that it matters, but
Okay. But if you could just share, like your impressions, like.
I ended up, being at the, community power table for a lot of time.
I see.
The general sessions of the plenaries, I participated in. And because it was a month ago, at the beginning of the month, I don't remember.
It's totally fine, yeah.
It's so bad.
Would you share would it be okay if more than just me has access to?
Yeah, I will
the whole
see if I can
committee?
I'll see if I can get that, yeah.
It would be amazing so that we can catch up, it's, even if we can get a feeling for it,
Well, right, I mean, that was like on Thursday, I think, and I had to put my cat down the next day. So I kind of blotted out a lot of specifics on things,
Yeah. I
Um,
understand the.
so.
Yeah, but that's great, having access, will go a long way.
And I can write something up or send it, to people.
What do you mean?
Maybe even just a list of what their programs were. And then I don't really know what I'm thinking.
I was just trying to understand whether it's a communication opportunity or like, is it a circling back or is it more for us?
It's not, it's for us.
Okay, well, don't worry too much, like, don't
Okay,
create additional work for yourself. Yeah.
there was a program that was online. It was sponsored by, Plainfield and Cornish, energy committees, and it was on batteries. And
Yeah,
I got that information. I can share that. Cause I signed up for it, but completely forgot when it was actually happening, but I got
the recording.
the recording and some of the materials, so I can pass that.
Yeah,
on.
that'd be
That,
awesome.
for whole house batteries, those kinds of batteries for me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, that would be awesome. Okay. Also, I guess, we're getting to the last update. There was the November select board meeting where you both
No, we didn't, it didn't happen.
didn't
No.
happen? The meeting itself didn't happen?
No,
The-
the
the
select
meeting
board meeting,
happened,
but
but-
we didn't go,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It was,
Yes, Kim, being affected, by what
Right.
happened, right? So,
When,
I expect.
when you and Kim
probably
feel
Jan-
better about the whole thing, then
Yeah, I figure probably January.
Yeah.
Cause that's when we'll have the new rates too. So
Yeah.
it might be kind of exciting too.
okay. So I'm gonna write, that Jordan and Kim to attend the January, select board meeting.
Upcoming, just put upcoming.
Upcoming.
We don't, you know, it's not urgent. There was nothing that was timely
Yeah.
in the update. It would be nice to present the new rates along with savings.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll
agree.
see.
Probably even better timing actually,
Well, yeah,
because of the rates. Okay. So, those were the updates that I thought of in the agenda. I don't think we have any other updates.
no, but there were a couple of things I just wanted to mention before you get into the visioning.
Yes,
One is I don't know if either of you get Daybreak,
I do
which
not.
is, okay, it's
I don't either, they break.
It's a blog.
yeah, I guess it is. And it comes out every morning, rather Monday through Friday. And today there was a story, and there was a link to it, and the news item was from Canary News, which is, and it had a map of sites of ground mounted solar installations in the US with capacity of at least 1 megawatt, which is the size of the Solar Energy Independent Association considers grid size. So it's enough to power 900 homes annually. If you look at the map of the US, New Hampshire is like blank. It's like the white hole.
But we don't have any
We don't have any,
major solar
right.
fields, for example.
Well, it's not just fields, but I will send the information to you, just so you can see it, because it was kind of mind boggling. It was like,
Ah.
oh, really?
Well,
I
it's
mean,
not
there's,
by coincidence, right? Because with the policies that we have had,
exactly,
yeah. Wow.
yeah, but it really needs to change. However, it's what is, so I thought it was worth noting. And, oh yeah, today was the, return of the bell at the, stone building at the Shaker Museum.
Ah,
So that was kind of cool. I went to that. So they put the bell back on and then they rang it once. And then we had to wait, I don't know, an hour or so for them to lift up the belfry to put it on.
wow, I saw that, it was getting ready, really, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of big doings. And there were a lot of people there,
Were there?
yeah, taking photos and stuff. And then they offered us, cocoa and cookies inside. Till the belfry.
I'm curious, who did that work? I mean, it was done by the museum, but I mean, I was curious if you knew the contractor or anything like that. That's,
I was
sorry, I
told,
missed that.
I think his name is Tim Baker
Okay,
in Canaan.
okay. No, I don't know him, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
So he rebuilt the cupola.
Yeah. Yeah.
Neat.
Apparently it was wood from Vermont, pine. And then it was sent over to Maine to be turned.
I mean, I saw that he was working on it on the ground. It was
Right.
next to the building and had been there for a couple of months.
Couldn't imagine what it was. It was like, looked like a playground. What is that?
I agree. I thought, when I first saw it, I said,
What is
it's not
that?
big enough to be a pavilion or something. It's,
Right,
yeah, I didn't know what it was either.
but so that's,
Mm.
that was big
That's
doing.
exciting.
So anyway, the point is that the museum has started to get more notoriety and everything. So having a town offices, in the library.
I think they had
will-
Yeah.
fairly good success on their capital campaign.
Oh, they did. They did,
So
Yeah,
that they're now able to tackle some of these,
right.
difficult projects.
Which is a good idea for connection
Mhm.
for energy efficiency.
Well, it's true. Um,
Anyway,
when
okay,
the town leaves these two buildings, they're going to need some very close attention.
yeah,
Because I don't believe for a second that the museum is going to eliminate these buildings. I think they're going to find a use for them and they'll need some careful energy efficiency design.
yeah.
absolutely.
Opportunity.
Yeah,
Before we connect to the visioning session document, I just wanted to circle back on the December meeting, because as you know, it falls really in the peak of holidays. Because that would be, one second, huh?
We don't usually have one. We don't usually have one then.
Yeah, it would be the 26th of December, right? So we normally don't have it. And are we comfortable canceling the December meeting?
I am, and I do need you to understand that there is an annual report that's due to Elisa in early January. I will work on writing up something about community power, but the rest of it is yours.
Okay.
Because you can look at past annual reports to see what other departments have done and what other committees have done and what we've
Yeah.
done.
Awesome.
it's not too early to think about whether or not you want to have a few minutes at the annual town meeting. If you want to have a few minutes, that's something to mention to us as well. Some committees choose to say something, some committees don't care to, but it's available, obviously, for you if you want to be on the agenda.
Excuse me for laughing.
Well,
Every once in a while, something you say just strikes me funny and it's like, oh, that's a possibility.
yeah, I
Never
mean,
thought of that.
it's there. We're back in the gym, thank goodness. We won't be under a tent. You know,
Really?
yeah, so,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity while we have a captive audience to share some of the successes.
yeah, I mean,
You know?
you know, we're usually attended by 300 or so
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely. And well, I think we'll put it on the agenda for the,
And so it's only if you want to do it, you know.
I'd be happy to
No,
do that.
no one,
is it
pressure.
somebody, just the chair, or can it be anyone else?
it can be anyone from the committee, of course. It could be,
I'd
couple
be
of
happy
different
to
members
do
of the
it. I
committee.
mean, I can,
I don't want to do it certainly because I don't have the knowledge that you folks do. But also I don't want to wear more than one hat
it makes sense.
at
Yeah, 'cause
that
you'll
particular
be at
meeting.
The table.
It would be confusing to, you know, speak about a particular committee.
Right. Yeah, no, I'll be happy to do that. I think there's success stories to report.
Yeah,
You know,
there are,
like
and especially,
fund,
yeah.
savings and, you
There,
know,
there may be
yeah.
an update on net metering perhaps, that might help
Could be,
people.
Yeah,
There are things.
Yeah.
That, what makes it real is that this committee, unlike, not that there are committees in Enfield that aren't that way, but this committee does real stuff.
Mhm.
It's, you
yeah,
know, it's hardtack. It's dollars and cents in people's pockets.
right.
Yeah.
And
And,
I think it's worth
you know,
kind of patting ourselves on the back.
it is,
you know,
it
it's
is.
like-
And, you know, I mean, God bless those committees who deal with other topics in town
Right,
who involve hundreds of people and they do wonderful work. But the advantage this committee has, it puts a few dollars, keeps a few dollars in people's pockets.
mhm,
Totally, yeah, so I think that's something that I'm happy to start drafting. I mean, I'll connect to Elisa first and then
Yeah,
maybe start drafting, you know, like what are some talking points, we can outsource that, you know, in the January.
but the annual report is,
Maybe that's where,
that's
I
what you
agree.
need to do first.
Yeah.
and that could actually be the place where the talking points come from.
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, the annual report is something that she wants to put in the annual town,
Yeah.
book.
That book, right?
Right.
Yeah, the town's annual report. But all the more reason, and I'm not trying to add any additional pressure here, but the annual town report is no longer distributed to every citizen in town
I know.
because of the cost of printing and distribution. So it's available on request, but they only make a few hundred copies now.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. That's it. It's good to have somebody who's on the, you know, town side. Otherwise I wouldn't see these opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
It's nice.
Okay. So, yeah, going back to the visioning, I mean, we are 7 minutes to 7. I just want to name the timing, right? So for the document, well, first of all, if you have had a chance to look at it, I just wanted to get a sense from you, you know, whether that was helpful to have that recorded, the mission statement, is that, you know, the capturing what we did, any.
I was,
What is that?
it's,
Go for it.
it was like a run-on sentence. I guess I'm accustomed to short and brief. But that was, I mean, so it's not really a mission statement. It's more of that is the vision.
It's a vision.
Okay.
Yeah, you are,
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought it was a good summary of that particular
I agree.
meeting. Well, a
I
very
agree.
good summary of that meeting. Well
Yeah.
formatted and presented, and perhaps as a future, as you suggest, as a future objective, to shape this committee's mission statement
Hmm.
might make sense.
The stated one is to save residents and the town money. I mean, it's essentially, but it could be,
But I think it's also
Expanded.
education,
right,
and I think it's also, to a certain extent, guidance through the quagmire of energy saving opportunities.
but so I agree. I mean, I think that the vision statement covers very well what we did do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, working on the mission statements, it's gonna be different, right? Because we are a town meeting,
right.
and I don't know how much leeway we have in changing the mission statement.
Right,
I don't know.
and I,
Well, I don't think the town set the original mission statement.
It was definitely precedes both of us, so.
right.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of other committees that have formed in the last few years. Yeah, they kind of, more frequently than not, they're written by the town manager, who says, who will then come to the select board and say, I want to form this committee for this particular subject,
Mhm.
and here's an idea of what the mission should be.
Mhm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it can't be reshaped by the committee itself once the committee has formed. Then the
Mhm.
committee can take that original statement and say, well, okay, as times have evolved, as thoughts have evolved, here's a way of moving it onward a little bit. And if you wanted to present that sort of thing back to the select board, then the select board could go, okay, nice reshaping type of thing.
And it would be more, I wouldn't say timely, but more relevant. You know,
Exactly, yes.
Well, I'm just thinking because if we have an opportunity to present, like we can say at the town meeting as an example, we will have to share our mission, and if we want to maybe advertise or recruit or, engage with people, I think it could be a time that it makes sense to try to revise it based on the vision that we have, that we started to develop together. I don't think it's a big lift. I mean, technically it doesn't make much of a difference, but at the same time, how we present ourselves, like the education goal, for example, is not very much part of it, but it's essential to what we want to do coming this year.
I mean, the knowledge that you can provide to the town. The town is not completely aware, I don't believe, of your significant involvement in community power. And I think they should be,
Or Kim's,
yeah,
Exactly.
it's huge.
I know.
So Enfield has a large footprint
We do.
in community power.
I know.
And I'm not sure the town knows that as compared to other towns who might take advantage of community power, but don't have the significant, haven't taken the significant opportunity to participate.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so I don't know, I always like it when people brag about what they do. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's important, because then other people go, that's exciting. I might like to dip my toe in that.
Yeah, well, the next thing I think we can do with the document that we have for the vision is really, what are the implications for the next coming year?
Yeah.
Based, like education being a big thing, but we wanted to go beyond, the newsletter or the listserv, and for that we need more people, and it's just like, it becomes very practical, So I would like, that's at the January meeting, how to give legs, what are some initial things that we can commit to being so small at this time, with the purpose of becoming a little bigger, so that we can actually move forward with this.
It could be that this committee can provide some, can help Canaan, perhaps,
oh, yeah,
shape up their thoughts.
I'm doing it.
It's already happening.
And I mean, and I think that's a great thing. Because, we have overlapping,
Yeah, we do. We have, I mean, the school district for,
exactly.
Yeah.
That raises a question, maybe you know the answer. The school district received a grant for an energy
I
manager.
don't
Did
know
they do
what the
anything with it?
story- the person who's now kind of chairing the Canaan committee, is on the budget committee of the school district, or of this SAU. I will contact her and find out, because I sent her an email congratulating her,
Yeah,
but,
So you actually even know the person?
well, I know the person on the budget,
Okay.
but I don't know.
the
you know, I
list,
don't know what
the list of
what happened.
employees has not changed. So there's a facilities director
Hmm.
who's the same person as it has been for a few years. But there's no mention of an energy person,
Yeah.
perhaps working for the facilities director or working for anyone else. So I don't know what they did with that grant.
I don't either, and I think better not waste it.
Well, it's interesting because in the New Hampshire Bulletin today, it talked about some schools that have been unable to spend all of their grant money for other things. And Manchester and Concord are up against it, and they haven't been able to spend all the money they got. And I wonder whether this was a grant that the school board just, you
I
know,
don't know. I
Yeah.
don't either.
Cause you had reached out to the superintendent.
I did.
said
I wrote her and, you know,
No response.
no.
Um,
So I don't know whether they moved forward with that or,
Yeah, I
Why not?
unfortunately am super disconnected. I don't have zero
I don't know.
connection there.
I will contact Hope, and find out what happened with that.
but I guess you did discover at one point that because, for example, the Enfield Village School sits physically within Enfield, it does get the community power rate. Is that correct?
I don't know that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if we had,
My
Learned that.
recollection was the SAU. I think,
office is also in Enfield.
right. I don't remember the details. I remember that, Kim was gonna ask, Deb Ford for some of the bills, so she could see.
Okay, is that where we left it? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think so.
Yeah.
Because my question initially was, does the village school bill go to the SAU? And the answer is yes. That seems obvious. Why would I even ask that question? I don't know. But, so I don't remember the resolution. I don't think we know for sure.
Mhm.
But I think they're on a contract. That seems,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess Deb Ford being the business manager would be the only person who would know that.
Right. So that's a follow-up that needs to be. I mean, it's not urgent, but it's,
No, it'd just be nice to know.
Right.
Which one? Because what I tracked was that you, Joanne, will contact Hope to see what's happening with the high school energy manager.
That is
the-
one phase of it,
Grant.
yes.
Sorry, Grant.
Yeah.
And then whether
what was
the
the other
Enfield
one?
Village School, to be specific, is under under community power or falls under a separate SAU contract. It'd just be nice to know.
I know.
Okay. And who is taking that one?
That's a Kim.
That would have to be Kim. Yeah, she has a contact with Deb Ford,
Whenever.
whenever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, what, you know.
Great. Well, because we spoke about money, so I don't expect that we will have to spend or need to spend money from our own budget, the energy committee budget, between now and the end of the year, correct? Is there's
No.
no, so essentially what happens then is that whatever is left is reabsorbed into the town budget.
Yes, yeah,
and we're
whatever
fine.
surplus is left unspent,
Yeah.
gets absorbed in the end of the year budget. And
Yeah,
we requested the budget for next year and it's approximately the same amount of money, I think, and
yeah, and we will know only at town meeting, because that's when the budget gets approved.
the budget committee isn't gonna pay a lot of attention to a small sum like that for one committee there. That's just gonna go through.
Did we request, I thought we requested more.
No,
We may have increased it marginally, but
I think
not
it
very
was in
much.
the range of 2,000.
And then 2,500 rings a bell to me,
It may be, which is more than we've
Yeah,
ever,
but I think, you know, okay,
we had talked about doing.
if it comes up as a question at a budget meeting, I'll know. I go to the budget committee meetings and
okay,
so
Okay,
if it
'cause we
is a
can say-
subject, I know we talked about it. Wanting to be there so that it would provide the ability to provide some educational materials
Right,
primarily,
and,
so that we could disseminate anything that we might learn that could help folks out.
and also, with businesses, we were talking about putting together a directory.
Yes.
Not
Well,
a directory, the Village Association does the directory, but, yeah, something to do with that.
yeah, I think there's a bunch of things, like there's educational materials, possible events, partnership with Eva, like the business breakfast we talked about. I don't know if that's still a possibility. The
I don't know that it's worth it.
Maybe not worth it. But then, there's actually more possibilities just because we are far into the community power enough that there's activities and so there's more stuff that we can actually do and want to do, especially based on the vision. So I think spending the early part of the year really nailing those action items for us will have budgetary implications, I think.
Okay.
I think illuminating folks as to the community power is going to be an ongoing topic
Absolutely.
that will not be dropped in the near term.
Right.
That it takes continual refreshing of that knowledge because people will come off of a contract, people will come into town and not know.
Well, again, but that's why they're doing this quarterly
Refresh.
refresh.
And so-
It's good.
A parallel of that is that this committee should be aware that refreshing that institutional knowledge of the availability of community power is going to be an ongoing subject.
Right. And whenever the rates change, then people go, no matter what it is.
Well, the important thing with the
It
rate,
raises their question, their
the important thing with the
awareness,
rate change is always to point out what the utility companies are also charging.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, yes, it's going from, it's gonna be in February, so it's gonna go from 10.8 to 12.3. But Liberty Utilities is at 16.9 or
Right.
something. So that's important.
I know, but my point is that's when people start looking at their bills more closely.
Oh,
And
in the
then-
middle of winter, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they start asking other questions.
And they
which is
need to be
fine.
reassured that community power beats other types of rates.
I guess I was thinking in terms of like people. When rates change the first of the month and the meter reading happens in the middle of the month, it gets confusing.
Oh,
People
yes,
don't understand that.
true. No, that's very
So
true.
that's part of an educational
Yeah,
thing.
that usually lights up the
It's gonna
listserv.
be coming up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the listserv usually lights up with those questions
I know.
when the time comes.
Yeah. All right, well, if there isn't anything else, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, yes. So we'll
Yeah,
skip
so
December.
Stop the record,
I will stop the recording.
excuse me.
No, I second. Vote, yes. Will we?
And
So
so we're not gonna have a
December meeting and we'll
Right.
resume in January.
Right.
Yes.
Did you see that I sent it? Something on the listserv to kind of defend the select board?
I didn't see it. I'll have to
Okay.
look for it now.
Yeah, well, it was when the property tax bills came out.
Oh, I did see that. Thank you. Yes, I did see that.